This meeting of the Public Utility Commission of Texas will come to order to consider matters that have been duly posted with the Secretary of State for October 24th, 2024. Good morning, everyone. So before we get started, a bit of sad news. As you can see, Commissioner Cobos is not here today. Her mother passed away on the 19th of October, so she is in Alpine, tending to her family. You know, we send our love out to her and lift her and her family up in our thoughts and prayers, and you know, just want to let her know and her staff know we're here as a PUC family for anything you all need or anything that she needs. I would say, if you have time, go look at the Alpine Memorial Funeral Home website. You can see her obituary, and after reading it, I think it's a good testament to a life well lived. And so I'd say if that's something that you feel like doing, go look that up in the Alpine Memorial Funeral Home website. And if you feel like it, I would say, reach out to Lori and let her know you're thinking about her, because in times like this, when you're dealing with grief, knowing that you're not alone, I think is really important. So with that,
I think it also shows her mother's dedication to family, which is just an amazing testament to that. And she's just an amazing woman that you think of Lori and all of her brothers and sisters and all of that, but it does a really good job of telling her life story and how intertwined it was with her family.
Yeah, I believe Lori has 10 brothers and sisters, and I think the obituary said some 24 great-grandchildren, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, maybe even some great-great-grandchildren, yeah. So absolutely. So with that, I would entertain a motion to excuse Commissioner Cobos from today's open meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails. So just real quick for a bit of housekeeping, I think I'd recommend we for the most part, go in order of the agenda with just a couple of exceptions. To say we take up public comment first, and then we take up the oral argument in the Centerpoint CCN case, and then take up Windermere, which I think is going to take quite some time at the end after we finished all the other contested cases, rules, and projects. I know at a previous open meeting, we took up the hearing in order, and it ended up taking a long time, and a lot of folks that probably could have gotten out of here ahead of that ended up having to sit here for a really long time. And so I envision that may take a long time. So if it's okay with everybody, we'll do it in that order, if you're all right with that. Sure. Okay. All right, then we have no closed session today, so good morning, Sheila, Connie, Barksdale. Sheila, will you lay out the consent agenda, please?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Recusal memos were filed in project number 52761. Chairman Gleason is recused from items 16 and 18. Commissioner Yaltman is recused from items 6, 15 through 18, 21, 23, 24, and 27. By individual ballot, the following items were placed on your consent agenda. Items 2 through 12, 16, 21, 22, 24, 26, 28, 31, 32, 34, and 35. Also by individual ballot, the Commissioners voted to place items 36 and 58 on the consent agenda, and no one signed up to speak on those items.
Thank you, Sheila. I entertain a motion to approve the consent items as laid out by Sheila.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion prevails. All right, so let's start with item number 1, public comment. Sheila, has anyone signed up for public comment this morning?
Yes, sir. We have 3 people that have signed up for public comment. Let me go ahead and bring up all 3, and just to confirm, is it the usual 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
All right. Let's call up Alan Hicks, Scott Miller, and Deborah, I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. Beto, thank you. Come on up, everyone.
Yeah, if you all want to come up.
And we'll go one at a time, and before you speak, if you'll say your name for the court report, for the records, the court reporter, make sure that she gets that. All right, so, move everyone, all right. Let's start with Mr. Hicks.
My name is Alan Hicks. Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you. As I say, my name is Alan Hicks. I'm a member of the Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation, and my neighbors who are also members of the Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation, and I are here today to show our support for the staff of the Public Utility Commission today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Next up is Scott Miller.
Hello, my name is Scott Miller. I'm a recent board member of the Windermere Water Supply Corporation, but have been a member since 2016. And I wanted to give you a kind of a bird's eye view of my impression of this whole thing that we've been going through for probably the last 10 years. A lot of this has come down to PUC's rate that was mandated to us with no chance for a rate increase for 12 months, and it's going to lead to our insolvency within 2 months if not corrected. Due to PUC's ordered rates, we lose a minimum of $10,000 a month, and that's just for our basic operation of the utility. Due to our old and aging environment, we have repairs, we have new things that got to be put in, isolation valves, et cetera. Our actual expenses have gone from an additional $20,000 to $45,000 a month. And as you can see, this eats up our cash very quickly. The compliance docket that was put on us with a 2-month interval to comply with, we had to choose between putting our resources to that, which included bookkeepers, CPAs, attorneys, or keeping the water service going. As a board, we decided to keep the water service going and let these things slide. So there was no real intention of not obeying these. We just did not have the money to do that due to the imposed rates upon us. And with the order that was put on us, there was no funding allowed for any of these items to be finished. And we told the PUC back in May that we did not have the money to do this. We told the staff, and we have never heard anything back about it. So this is how we are stuck in this situation. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and proceed with opening statements. I'll follow up with the commissioners to see if they have any questions, and then we'll continue with our witnesses after that. Commission staff, would you like to proceed?
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, Judge Denmark, Chairman, Commissioners, Merritt Lander on behalf of Commission staff. Today, staff respectfully asks this commission to appoint a temporary manager for Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation. And I do not make this request lightly. I've spent 4.5 years working on matters involving Windermere, and I am deeply invested in trying to help ratepayers get the service that they deserve. I'm deeply invested in seeing Windermere succeed. I've read thousands of pages of filings. I have participated in multiple hearings. I've spent hours talking with members of this community. And what I can tell you is this: things are not good. Under Texas Water Code 134132, the commission has the authority to appoint a temporary manager on grounds of abandonment. Abandonment can include a failure to adequately maintain facilities, resulting in potential health hazards or repeated service interruptions. It can also include displaying a pattern of hostility toward or repeatedly failing to respond to the utility commission or the utility's customers. As the commission will see today, Windermere has repeatedly ignored commission orders, and it knowingly continues to violate commission orders, the Texas Water Code, and the Texas Administrative Code. And from where I'm standing, complete disregard for the authority of the commission is an act of hostility, not to mention the fact that Windermere has displayed a pattern of hostility toward and repeatedly failed to respond to its customers. What reads as true hostility is how consistently Windermere presents inconsistent information to this commission. It has shown itself either unwilling or incapable of satisfying commission orders. It has consistently disregarded deadlines and obligations, and a lack of funds isn't why Windermere ignored the commission. The argument they couldn't pay their attorneys so they couldn't submit their filings, hold zero water. Windermere is clearly capable of submitting pro se filings, just as it has in this docket. Windermere is clearly capable of having its law firm step back so that it can handle filings pro se. And it is well known that this commission is very understanding of the struggles of small utilities. If Windermere had chosen to participate in the enforcement docket in any sort of meaningful way, maybe we wouldn't be here today. But here we are, and we are here for valid reason. Staff will also show that Windermere has proved itself unable to adequately maintain its infrastructure. Ratepayers deal with regular leaks, boil water notices, and Windermere's own operator paints a bleak picture of Windermere's system. Windermere has argued that it doesn't have the revenue it needs to operate its system, but as the record will show, that simply isn't true. The problem isn't a lack of money. The problem is a lack of planning and prioritization. Windermere chose to ignore the commission. Windermere chose to ignore multiple orders and multiple deadlines. They've had so many chances, and they did not avail themselves of those opportunities. All they had to do was show up, and they didn't. And so staff respectfully requests that the commission appoint a temporary manager for Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation. It is time for someone to step in and handle Windermere's business, because Windermere itself has not and cannot. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lander. Mr. Walker, would you like to do an
Thank you, Ms. Denmark, Commission, and Chairman. Yeah, sorry. I'm here as a member and as a board member. Let me just flatly say out, I'm not against putting a manager in. Not at all. I'm not here to fight that. Never was my intention. My intention here is to ensure that when a manager comes in, that they protect the corporation, its assets, and its members. It was clear, or what I read into the petition was, there is some ambiguity in there of what the manager would be able to do. I disagree with staff's assessment. This is not really a management issue. It is purely a rate and revenue issue. That's what it is. When we talk about rates in society, we talk about insurance rates, water rates, postal rates. That's great at that level. What I'm here to talk about is the corporation's use of that rate, which turns into revenue. Because of the rate appeal and what happened at the same time as the compliance docket, which for sure, have we failed at? Absolutely. Totally guilty as outlined by staff. No doubt about it. Why? Because we had to spend the revenue that we were able to get on keeping quality water running to the members and processing wastewater. That's a fact. Now, unfortunately, you cannot hear from the president or the operator because he's been denied access to talk to you about what's been going on out there. But we have had acts of God happen on our plant back in the January, February of this last year with frozen pipes. We had a recent issue where a vehicle ran over one of our main valves. It took us almost a day to get that addressed. Boil water notices have gone out. Absolutely. That's not a fault of management. That's our operator doing his job. And that's where we spent the money. We spent the money not on compliance because we didn't have enough revenue. I sat in this same room 30 days ago and I said, hey, $165 was my water bill in February of this year. 60 days later, it's $7. My other board member, Brian, will contest his water bill was $215 down to $50 in a year period. Now, how do you just, simple math says, oh, I think we got a revenue issue here. I'm not blaming anybody within the staff or within the PUC, but that's clearly what is happening here when you have such a aggressive rate reduction and refund taking place at the same time. In addition to that, we were hit with a compliance filing that says we need to have all these compliances in. One of them was, hey, I need a financial audit of 2023. Well, to date, we've spent $17,000 of our hard-earned money trying to get that audit done. That's a compliance requirement. I don't have the funds to finish that off because I'm paying my operator, I'm paying legal fees that have been initiated by such things as one of our members contacted the IRS and put forth an audit of our 2022 tax filings. What are we going to do? We got to spend money to go fight that, not fight it, but support the IRS. Was the PUC going to step in and say, oh, we don't want you to spend any money to go file against the federal government, don't do anything there, spend it on compliance filings? That's what the real story is here. I've got other witnesses that'll testify to that effect, people that have been diving into the financial problems. I wish I could have had my operator, but because he could have talked to you about some of these operator things that was laid out here in the opening statements, but it really boils down to this. I'm not opposed to any of it. Neither are some of the other board members opposed to it. Many people in the back of the room who are members don't oppose to bringing in a manager. All I'm saying here is we just want to ensure protection of the corporation and assets, that this manager doesn't come in and say, hey, we're having a big rate problem or revenue problem, and you'll hear from my witness about that. We need to go out there and sell an asset, and we're going to do it very quickly. And in some of my, information that I put forth to the commission, we've got an active project going on to sell some of the real estate, which is what we were told to do right from the beginning when we identified these rate issues. So right there, this is nothing new that was not brought to PUC staff early on. There are documentations that I've submitted into the record going back to May to say, hey, we're in serious, serious financial problems because of what the rate appeal and the new rates that were structured had done to us. And that's my opening statement.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for them before we start with witnesses?
Judge Denmark, I would ask maybe we take a quick 15-minute recess. I want to make sure that the process by which we ruled on the objections was done adequately. So if we could have maybe 15 minutes just to make sure that process was done right and then come back, that would be helpful.
Okay, we'll take a break. Number 57065, Commissioners, I'll hand it back to you.
Apologies for the delay. So because this was happening in real time, it occurred to me that the witness that has an operational understanding of the system wasn't going to be here. And I'm sure some of us have questions that need to be answered by someone who works at the entity that actually operates the utility. So with that being the case, I think it would be beneficial to hear from that witness. Otherwise, some of the questions aren't going to get answered, potentially. Thoughts?
Does that mean we like overrule or overrule?
No, I would, so there was no ruling on this. we would just ask for the ALJ to reconsider the ruling
Yeah, I would definitely have some questions.
okay. So then, Judge Denmark, I would ask that you reconsider your ruling on substituting the witness.
Having more time now as well, I would reconsider that and allow the substitution of Mr. Landon, is that correct?
Yeah.
In place of Ms. Hargett.
There you go. Thank you.
Commissioners, anything else before we proceed with witnesses?
No.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and swear in all the witnesses at one time, and then we're going to ask the witnesses to excuse themselves from the commissioners' hearing room. We have a place for you all. Mr. Walker, could you please stand? Ms. Flunker, Mr. Garcio, Garso, and Mr. Landon, could you please stand? Lanham. All right, let me. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
Okay. Ms. Lander, who do you plan to call first? I'm sorry, you all can put your hand down and sit down. Well, I want to see who we would like to proceed first with before I remove witnesses.
Yes, thank you, Judge Denmark. I think staff would like to go ahead and call Mr. Walker first.
Okay. I'm going to ask for the other witnesses. You're going to leave the commissioner's hearing room. When you leave this room, you may not converse about this docket with each other or with any person other than the attorneys in the case, except by permission from the commission. We have a designated spot for you to sit at, and we will call you when we're ready for you. And before we start with the questions, a quick housekeeping. I'm keeping track of time very carefully here, so we are keeping to our time limits. Would you like me to let you know when there's a 5-minute to reserve 5 minutes for closing? In case you start running the clock, would you like to say 5 minutes for closing?
Yeah.
Yes and yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Lander, you may proceed.
Absolutely. For ease, Mr. Walker, I have here a binder with the exhibits that we might actually talk about during the questioning today. I thought it would be easier than having to flip through 8,000 pages of documents. So, first and foremost, did I hear you say that you do not object to the appointment of a temporary manager?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
With rules. I did
But you did specify, you did say that you do not object to the
I
appointment.
do not object to the
Great.
manager. I just want to be
And
able to put rules on.
As far as the compliance docket, it is true, is it not, that Windermere has failed to timely file any of the compliance requirements?
We have failed in not every case.
Mr. Walker,
Hang on a second.
has Windermere timely filed any of the requirements in the compliance docket?
To the best of our ability, with an asterisk.
Mr. Walker?
You want a yes
One
or,
more
is that a
time.
yes or no?
It is a yes or no question.
No, we have not.
Thank you. Let's talk very quickly then about the financial situation in Windermere Oaks. Very quickly, you have shown this commission on multiple occasions a bill that you claim is for $7. However, that bill for $7, how much did you have to pay Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation on that month? By check, credit card?
Oh, I paid it. I paid it with a check. The
Okay.
total bill was $46.42.
Okay, great.
Less the surcharge.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. I think aside from that, those are all the questions that I have for Mr. Walker.
You passing the witness?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Walker, at this time, you have your opportunity for cross-exam. Normally,
myself?
it's done in a question and answer
Exactly.
format, but
I
we'll go
understand.
ahead and your cross can be done in a narrative format
That's
where
what I'll
you
do.
just respond to the questions you
Yeah,
just received.
thank you very much. Her question about the water bill. Absolutely. It's right here. This is my bill. That does include a surcharge of $39.21, which the rate order came down to say that was to pay legal expenses. So in order, we have to subtract that because I'm really not supposed to put that towards operating of the water utility, which brings my bill down to $7.21 to put towards operations. So that's a clarity on that note. Again, what I paid 60 days earlier was $165. That's a significant amount. To Ms. Lander's point about have we missed compliance filings? Absolutely. We did our best. Our legal team did their best. There are some many reasons that I can get into about it. You can trust us, trust my testimony. A lot of it had to do with records. They weren't available. I think I can bring up past experiences with the rate appeal, how difficult it was to get records to, because even in the compliance filing, it says that we need to have an updated records management system, both physically and electronically. We just don't have it. We also were hit with at least one or two legal cases end of Q1 and beginning of Q2. The IRS audit, which took the legal team out of compliance work and put it towards the responses that the federal government was asking us for. I'm not using it as an excuse, but you have to pick your battles and you have to pick your priorities. And that's the explanation I'm going to use on that. We had other legal ramifications coming to us that we were spending money on them. I've got a whole list of what our legal expenditures were that I can share with the commission, share with Ms. Lander and the ALJ in regards to where were we spending our money on PIA requests, on CCN, and on these docket filings as best as we could, plus trying to keep the operations working with the amount of revenue that was coming in. I can't hire a full set of staff, or we can't hire a full set of staff to come in and deal with compliance as best as, and we did it as best as we could with what we had.
Mr. Walker, does that conclude your
Yes.
testimony? Ms. Oh my gosh, it's been a long day. Do you have any redirect?
Yes. So just for clarification on the $7 versus $46, there isn't anything in the final order in docket 50788 that requires you to use the money collected from the surcharge for any specific thing, is there?
It does say that the $478,000 was allocated to pay for legal work done by Lloyd Gosling at the time that we were required to pay back. And it does state that it's a legal surcharge.
So it is a surcharge to recover legal expenses. It is not a surcharge to pay legal bills, is it?
It's a gray area, in our opinion. Hang on.
Okay,
Because
I know, I'm sorry,
Okay,
I'm not
you're
going to
right.
hang on.
Never mind.
So what I am going to ask you is, for all of the money that you have collected through this legal surcharge, for the $478,000 in legal fees that you were allowed to recover for Lloyd Gosling services, how much of that money has gone to Lloyd Gosling?
0.
Okay, thank you. And that's all I have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Walker?
Why would 0 not go to the lawyers that you say it was for?
Because we needed it to run operations. You can't run it on $7. I'm sorry. You can't run your water company operations on $7. I mean, we needed, look at when Brian Garzo comes up to testify, look at what his bill is. I've analyzed bills. I mean, they're in $17 to $20 to $25 can go towards operations. But we needed the revenue to sustain operations. But look at our balance sheets, which Brian can speak to. We have a long-term obligation to our old legal firm of $500,000. It's carried on our balance sheet. Eventually, we're going to have to pay that off. But right now, I need that surcharge to run operations, and I still don't have enough money.
Did you come tell us that? Did you tell the commission staff that at the time when you started using the surcharge dollars to move towards operations?
I didn't get that specific, Commissioner, but I did notify Ms. Lander, even at the time when the rate order came out. I was like, when do I have to implement this? Because it came out on the 21st of March. Oh, she goes, at your next billing cycle, which was in 2 weeks. I'm like, you're kidding me. No runway? Nope. They want an order comes in, you've got to comply to it. And I said, okay, looks like that's what we're doing. And our rates just went, revenue stream went from $165, in this case, if you want to add the surcharge in it, to $50 as a round number, just for round number purposes. Okay. On May 19th, there was an email that was sent to Ms. Lander that says, hey, we got a revenue problem here. I want to talk to you about receivership. We can't sustain more than 5 more months or we're going to run into some serious problem. Well, that's May, June, July, August, September, October. 5 months, and here we are in October. And you'll see from Brian's analysis of the financial situation of where we're at. We burn, regardless of what we're spending our money on, which is all operations and legal fees, we're still 10 grand in the hole. And we don't even pay that $10,000 a month invoice to Lloyd Gosling like we're supposed to. That puts us 20 grand in the hole. It's all about rates. It's all about rates equate to revenue. We don't have any, useless spending. Look at me. I'm a member and a board member. I'm in here trying to fight. I didn't hire this out to attorneys. Anytime I can do it ourselves, we try to do that. Because we don't want to rack up a legal bill, but we've been smacked with legal bills. PIA requests, IRS audits, seriously? CCNs, interventions by members and such, it's just been killing us. You can look at our financials. He'll come up and talk about it.
So do you currently have legal attorneys right now?
Yes. Yes, we do.
But your claim is you couldn't file documents into the compliance docket because you don't have attorneys?
No, I didn't say that. I said they have been working diligently on filing into the compliance docket. There are several dockets that we've satisfied. There are several that we've asked for extensions on. There is data that they require in there, such as the financial audit for 2023. We've spent $17,000 and it's not done yet because those people, the audit people, which are brand new, can't find the records for 2023. Keep in mind, this is a brand new board that came on this year. I've been on since 2023. Yes, since 2023, but I was a sole member. So I wasn't responsible for this. We have bad record management, no doubt about it. The compliance filing that Ms. Lander is referring to, I signed. I executed. I agreed with her when we put that package together. Her and I worked on that together. We said, here's our problems. Bylaws, records management, election procedures, some other rate management, and so on. We've been trying to manage that. But at the same time, I don't have a lot of revenue to do it.
Which documents have you filed into the record?
I can't answer that wholeheartedly. I know that we put changes in on the bylaws. We have our election procedures that are ready to go. We've been dealing with the CCN issues. We've been trying to do the audit, but we just don't,
But what documents have you filed? Not what have you been trying? What is filed in the dockets?
I can't really speak to that. I don't want to misquote what we've sent. I should have had the list from legal, but we have been doing filings.
Is there a
and
witness that can testify?
No, but I can probably pull it up on an email and find out for you by the time we get to the end of this and find out what we filed.
We are staff.
I mean,
I can
have we
answer
been
that.
late? Excuse me, Commissioner, have we been late? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we have. But it's, they call us up and go, hey, what do you want us to work on? We got the IRS stuff. We got PAA requests. We got this. We got that. It's a matter of priorities with what the funds we have to pay them. You got to remember, every time they did work for us, we got billed. And I only got a certain amount of revenue in that bucket. And you can talk to Brian about that aspect of it. It's an unfortunate situation, and there's nobody to blame here. I'm not looking to blame anybody. I think as I came to you guys last month and I showed you my rate, it was a 6-month checkpoint when the rate appeal came in. And it's just, there's just something wrong in the rates that we've been given. There's just not enough revenue in there to sustain. And you'll hear it from the operator, and you'll hear it from financial. That's really all it is.
Thank you.
Commissioner Yaltman, if I may, if you take a look at Staff Exhibit 26, it's actually just a printout of all of the sort of the interchange page for docket 56167, and it just lists all the filings that have been submitted. You'll see, I think there was a request for extension very early on, and then in, let's see, August, the Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation Bylaws Committee filed some proposed revised bylaws. Unfortunately, we had no idea who the bylaws committee were. Windermere was represented by counsel in that docket, and so, you cannot accept as a filing on behalf of a represented party something that an unidentified committee has submitted in the docket. And then you'll see October 3rd, 2024, bylaws were filed. They were filed late. There was no request for extension, and they were filed effectively out of order. There was a list of items that needed to be filed per the order in 55454, which was the compliance enforcement docket. One of the things that was supposed to be filed first was a records management policy, And that way we'd be able to track how the bylaws were modified, who did the modifications, sort of that whole process, because that's one of the problems that Windermere has had historically is a lack of process. And so we needed to see the processes that were in place before the bylaws, which were late regardless.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I make a follow-up comment to that?
All of that up to the
Okay.
commissioners.
The records management, very good example. It's been on our radar for over a year. How do you put together a records management policy for a water company? The board doesn't have any idea. What do you have to do? Go out and hire people to go do that. Yes, our attorneys had some ideas, but they were focused on other things. We would love to get all this stuff done. We would really love to, but it costs money to put together a new records management program, comprehensive. Not just meeting the compliance filing, but ours is bad. I mean, I'll tell you, ours is bad, both electronically and physically at our plant. Really bad. And it's kind of embarrassing. I mean, I use a Gmail account when I should be using something under Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation. We just don't have even simple tools like that to get it done because we don't have the money in order to go implement those things. So, again, guilty for not putting the compliance filings in, that's for sure.
So you've said a couple times that you don't have the money, and you've referenced your new bill. When did that rate go into effect?
The rate.
That is
March
resulted-
March 21st? Is that the? when the
March
rate appeal
21st
went
of
in?
what year?
Yeah, well, yeah, 2024. I think
Okay.
that's when the order came down.
Sure. So prior to that new rate, you had sufficient revenues to do all this and were not? Is that what I would be led
That
to
is
believe?
correct. You had a board that wasn't taking action on it. We had tremendous legal expenses. Ms. Lander can contest to that, so can a couple of other commissioners who saw this, thing happen over the last 3 to 4 years. I mean, we spent $1.8 million in legal fees on the rate appeal, and we still owe $500,000. So where did a lot of our bulk of our money went to? It went to that. It went to inefficient management. Hence, we have a new a new operator, AWR, who came in August of 2023 and has been with us, since then.
And just to be clear, when you say we have to pay, who's paying?
But Windermere Oaks Water Supply, I'm sorry. Yeah.
The customers,
Yeah.
the ratepayers.
Yeah, well, the ratepayers, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, through rates. That's
Right.
correct, that's correct.
But the we is the ratepayers.
Yes. We as the corporation, yeah, because we're a member-owned corporation. So when I say that, I'm sorry, I should clarify that.
Just one small point of clarification. The rate case expenses were only about $678,000 only. The additional legal expenses were related to external litigation.
Yeah. Lot of litigation, yeah.
Mr. Walker, you can understand why our staff and the commission prior would put an order in that did not really have faith in your financial duties. That was not you, but your prior board, correct?
Absolutely. Oh, no, we're lockstep here. I mean, we're lockstep. I get it. Absolutely. This is something that's been going on for 3 to 4 years. I mean, everybody can look at the history of the rate appeal. Nobody's challenging that. I think what it was, to be honest with you, the rates were set using, a little bit of outdated data and needed to be updated. They were based upon 2019, 2020 data, if I do believe. And there are no adjustments for 21, 2022, and 23. As a matter of fact, I got an email from PUC staff to say, good grief, your insurance rates are expensive. They're outrageous. We pay over $80,000 and just for our insurance alone, D&O and plant, public, personal insurance and such. They've gone up since that time almost $60,000 and above.
Just a point of clarification again, if you look at the exhibit that is Windermere's year-to-date financials, I'll have to find what exhibit number that is. Their insurance costs to date, at least according to the exhibit that they admitted, $1,300,
Yeah.
not $100,000.
Yeah. But that's based upon 2023. Yeah, not this year. Look at what's in the budget. I mean, if you look at our 2024 budget, which I have here, I mean, it's budgeted a lot. It's because that's what it is. I mean, I've got an email today from one of our insurance carriers for $32,000 for just one of them. And it just didn't get factored in. I mean, it's no fault of anybody. it's good that we're here and having this conversation about there needs to be a correction. I mean, it's a correction. It's no fault of anybody's about, what was established and such. So, anyway.
So, new board,
Yes.
who's on the board now? And
Uh,
what do you all see as your mandate as a new board?
It's myself as a VP, Brian Garceau, who you're going to hear from, and Scott Miller, who spoke here this morning. That is the board. Our mandate is to provide clean water and services in our best of our ability and manage through this financial situation until we can apply for a rate adjustment, which we're in the process of doing, which can't be coming into effect until March of 2025. We were, I think, mandated, and Ms. Lander can correct me on this, that we couldn't raise rates for over a year. So I think that is a fact in the rate order or somewhere, if I remember correctly. So we can't raise any rates to, generate more revenue to satisfy what we need to do.
So you're saying you can't file a rate case?
No, I know, we are in the process of doing that because it has to go through the commissions and we're 5 months ahead of time. And
Okay.
yeah, but it can't go into effect, I do believe, until March of this next year.
No, that's not correct.
What's the date, the anniversary, 1-year anniversary date?
Well, the order was issued on March 21st, 2024.
Right.
But the 1-year limitation that you're referring to is in reference to rate cases brought before the commission. It doesn't apply to rate appeals ruled upon by the commission. So if you come in and file for a rate change, you do have to wait a year. But there is no rule that says if you have filed a rate appeal and it has been ruled upon by the commission, you have to wait a year.
Okay.
There is no such rule.
Okay.
Are your attorneys helping you with that application currently?
Yes,
And they did not inform you of proper procedure?
not that. That's correct. I was unaware of that till I just heard that right now. If I would have known that, we would have had this application in on March 22nd. Because I was doing the rate analysis of what we're going to do on revenue when I got the COBOS memo, the draft of the COBOS memo, which was before the rate order. I mean, I was looking at this in January and February of this year. There's documents that were floating around to say, wow, if we take the new rate with the refunds and the surcharge, this is what we're going to generate. It's significant. You take a significant hit, and I've been planning this. My correspondent with the staff on May 19th says, hey, we got a problem here. We got 5 months of runway here. And that was in May. I was screaming from the rooftops. It just wasn't functional. And it's not like we're out spending money, frivolously. We're not. I mean, we got hit with lawsuits, with IRS audits. I don't consider that a lawsuit, but I got to respond. It's cost the corporation at least $20,000 in accounting and legal fees. CCN interventions, PIA request. It's all documented right here, what we're spending our money on, and we're trying to minimize it. Heck, I'm sitting here. I didn't want to turn this over to legal because it was going to cost us a fortune. I just wanted to come and tell the story about this is what it is. This is what's happening. And our documentation from our operator and from our, from the guy who's taking on the finance, we'll show you what it is. I mean, we got nothing to hide. I'm not doing any, funny stuff behind the scenes or shenanigans or anything else like that. Like Ms. Lander said, I want to make this successful. I hope we can. We have an old system, by the way. Oh, we don't have any money to even update it. But Mr. Lannon will speak to that from AWR side environment.
Well, hopefully the attorneys that are helping you with your rate filing package are watching this.
Oh, they are. Absolutely, they are. I was with them on this morning. So telling them, let's go.
They're
Keep an eye on
getting,
this.
they're getting some free legal interpretation.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Do we have copies of the budget for this year?
You do. It's actually Windermere Exhibit 1. It has their 2022 budget, an actual, 2023 budget, an actual, and then their 2024 budget.
Since you talked about it, look at where it says legal. I can find it for you. We had budgeted $3,000, which was just insane. There was no way we were going to do that. But that's kind of what we were pushed towards.
Thank you.
It's a conundrum. And, you know, if I can speak, I mean, we're out, we've got an active set of real estate that we're trying to sell to generate money. Absolutely. We've had that in the works since the first of the year. It's been listed, it's been published on many websites and so on. It's 6 acres that hasn't been touched in 25 years. We're trying to sell it to generate money because that's what we talked about.
Okay.
Mr. Walker, sorry.
Sorry.
Real quick, I'm sorry. You mentioned you're in favor of temporary managing conservators if, and you stated if, there were parameters placed around.
That's correct.
What does that mean to you?
We just want to, I think the board, Scott, Brian, and myself, and some of the members that I talked to, just want to put some rules on it. Like the temporary manager can't go out and sell this asset that we're trying to price for $1.5 million if we can get it, and he wants to have a fire sale because because we're in the hole on paying a $500,000 legal fee. We don't want him to do that. We want him to be able to say, if something like that comes up, bring it in front of the board. We want to get the members involved and so on. Just put some parameters around some things. Keep the board active. Don't go off and all of a sudden we're blindsided by things, because we got to report to the people that are behind me in board meetings. And that's all we're asking for. Well, I love the idea that let the guy, help us out, or whoever's going to come in. Absolutely. I don't, again, I'm not fighting this. I just want clarity of some of the stuff that was talked about and make sure that everybody is aware of what they're about ready to get themselves into.
Your current bylaws have those rules in place now? That if you wanted to sell an asset, your board has to approve it?
Yes. And I just want to make sure that that those are not superseded.
Okay.
And that's really all it is. I mean, this could have been handled with a settlement, but it's kind of like an agreement between what the PUC wants and the corporation, easily. That's all we're asking for.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Walker? Okay. Mr. Walker, you're released from the stand. Just stay where you
I know.
are, but
Thank
you're
you.
Ms. Lander.
It's kind of a unique situation.
Who would you like to call as your next witness?
I'd actually like to call, is it Mr. Yalin? The AWR person.
Oh, my gosh.
It starts with an L, I
Land-
believe.
I
Landum.
wrote it down wrong.
Landum.
Lanham.
Lanham. I think he said it's Lanham.
Landum.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Ms. Lander,
Yes.
whenever you're ready.
Oh, I'm sorry, is he?
He's right here.
Hello, sir. How are you today? I apologize. I expected
You want to go in the middle, or you want to go?
I expected you over here, but you are good where you are. Please, don't worry. I'm going to hand you what is Windermere Exhibit 10, if you don't mind. I believe that those are some operations reports from AWR. Do you recognize those?
I'm familiar with them, yes.
Okay, great. If you wouldn't mind, let's take a look at let's look at the March report, what's labeled page 1 of 2. Okay, how many leaks in February? Leaks requiring repair in February?
I think it's on the page.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes.
How many leaks in February requiring repair?
I don't know the exact number. We had during the winter months.
Well, if you actually look at the page that
I'm
I'm
sorry, there were 3 leaks.
referencing,
3
3
leaks,
leaks
I'm
in
sorry.
February requiring repair. Okay, thank you. Can you please turn to the May report? Okay, and if you'll take a look at page 1 of 2, you'll see a number 3. So it's page 1 of 2. Unfortunately, the numbering on these is a little odd.
Are you
Okay.
referring to 2?
Page 1 of 2.
Oh, page 1 of 2, sorry.
Okay.
If you could read number 3 for me.
I don't see number 3.
You're talking page 2 of?
I am talking about
Yeah, and which month, I'm sorry again?
the month of May, please.
All right, I have that. You want to look at leaks?
I would like to look at page 1 of 2, number 3. It's the number right below the picture of all the trees.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, would you just read that for me, please?
Turbidity continues to be an issue for the operators and continues until a new clarifier is constructed. Hawk has provided a quote in the amount of $18,804 to install new turbidity meters, chlorine analyzers and controllers to help the operators manage the levels. In the meantime, we have temporarily installed old controllers and meters from another district which work better than the current Windermere equipment. This is helping the operators manage chemical dosing for the turbidity. This is a good temporary solution, but needs a new clarifier and new Hawk equipment for the future.
Okay, and so to me, that says that you guys have had to pull old equipment from other systems to replace Windermere's failing equipment. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Let us turn to the August report, if you wouldn't mind. I tried to put tabs on there to make it a little bit easier. Sorry about that. So if we are looking at the August report, page 1 of 1 at the bottom, you see water system plant. And it looks like you had to repair the clarifier motor for $4,650.
That's correct.
And if you look at the top of the following page, it looks like you had to replace a bray valve for $5,575.
That's correct.
Okay, and if we can look at the September report. If we turn to page 1 of 2, you'll see a number 2. Would you read that for me again, please?
As communicated previously, pardon me, turbidity continues to be an issue for the operators and will continue until a new clarifier is constructed. When the LCRA releases water from the Starkey Dam, our operators have to work overtime day and night to keep the debris and dirt, turbidity, to a minimum. It requires changing the chemical dosing up and down until the turbidity resolves. We are seeking board approval in the amount of $18,804 to install new Hawk turbidity meters, chlorine analyzers, and controllers to help the operators manage the levels. The proposal was included in the March and June operator reports. As a reminder, these are also listed in the TCEQ exit interview as items that should be addressed to avoid a violation.
Okay, so in September, again, we're talking about the clarifier
Yes, that's correct.
and turbidity, which is basically how clean the water is.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is Staff Exhibit 20. Mr. Walker, I think you probably have a copy of that in
What's
the Staff Exhibit 20.
Oh, in your doc?
If not in my docs, then probably in yours.
I go from 19 to 29. Sorry.
No problem. I got it. So, I'm handing you what is marked as Staff Exhibit 20. If you would please take a look at page 1 of 2. Okay, and you see it says water system plant,
Yes.
and it looks like one of the clear well transfer pumps failed? Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. ma'am.
Okay, and number 1, it says turbidity and chlorine malfunctioning monitors continue to be a serious issue for the operators. Alarms, mostly false, are creating many hours of overtime and expense for the corporation. We are seeking immediate board approval in the amount of $18,804 to install new turbidity meters, chlorine analyzers, and controllers. And that was in October, correct?
Yes. that's
So
correct.
from March through October, we need to work on turbidity, we need to work on turbidity, we need to work on
Yes,
turbidity.
that is correct.
Okay. If we look at that second bullet point, the most important capital improvement immediate need is the construction of a new raw water clarifier. Is there a new raw water clarifier in place?
There is none.
Okay. And number 3, when the LCRA releases water from upstream, the issue is magnified. Our operators have to work overtime day and night to keep the debris and dirt, turbidity, removed from the raw and pre-filter water. Numerous chemical adjustments are required during that time, creating overtime costs until the turbidity lowers in the lake. So basically, you're having to have someone go in and manually adjust because the system isn't capable of cleaning the water effectively on its own right now?
That is correct. Because we don't have filtration on that water, which is what a clarifier does,
Right.
we are having to adjust the chemicals significantly to filter out that particulate matter,
Okay.
and therefore the plant would not be able to filter it out had we not been making those chemical adjustments. That makes sense?
It does. And so just the easiest question, I think, if the turbidity is not accounted for, not clean, not adjusted properly, it could lead to very dirty water.
Yes? that's
Yes.
correct, sure.
Could that very dirty water create a potential health hazard?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all I have for you. Thank
Are you passing the witness?
Yes, pass the witness.
Mr. Walker?
Could you give me a little bit about your background for the commission, if I could, please?
Sure. My history is I was a city manager in 4 cities in Texas. I've been in the utility business for 35 years, and I currently own AWR Services. We've been in business 23 years. We operate various facilities in and around the Austin area.
Okay. How long have you had, which is now Sci Environment, how long have you guys been in business?
So we've been in business, AWR has been in business 23 years. We recently were purchased by C Environmental, and that only occurred about 90 days ago.
Okay. Obviously, you have other water systems of like for Windermere Oaks, correct?
Oh, yeah.
How many other type of operations do you manage?
Yeah, we have two other treatment plants on Lake Travis. We also have a large treatment plant on Lake Austin. Generally, the water's a bit cleaner, less difficult to treat on Lake Austin, but the other 2 plants, the water's identical to what is being treated by Windermere.
Okay. Do we have a clarifier, a true clarifier in our operations?
Well, you don't. There's a system of tanks that this water moves through, and so there is not a true clarifier in the system.
Okay. These pumps that you were talking about were would be a temporary solution until we were able to upgrade the plant with a clarifier. Correct? Did I hear that right?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I want to clarify.
So the issue with the turbidity meter and chlorine analyzer, those are intended to be sure that the raw water coming in, we're able to adjust the chemical properly coming in. And then there is a finished water turbidity meter that makes sure that the finished water does not exceed 0.5 NTU.
Okay.
That's TCQ standard.
Okay.
And on the chlorine analyzer side, chlorine analyzer analyzes to be sure that we have adequate chlorine residual before the water goes in the system so that we have proper disinfection.
Okay.
But those two, the ones that were in place when we arrived 12 months ago were malfunctioning. The ones we have in there now are functioning, but they are old and they were removed from another plant facility and replaced by new ones.
We contacted you in early summer to create an operation report, which would give us a 1, 3, and 5 year plan to how we were going to upgrade our system.
You did?
Yeah. Did that proposal ever come through?
So we received a proposal from Coleman Engineering offering to do that, but the board of directors never acted upon that proposal, and eventually Mr. Coleman became busy with another large project and was not able to do it once we went back to him.
Was there a price tag on that?
Yes, $35,000.
Yeah. It was a $35,000 proposal to
Yes.
create an operating report that would give us a 3 to 5 year plan
Correct.
to tell us where we have old equipment, such as we don't have a true clarifier like some of your other water plants have. So you're doing a lot of this manually.
Correct.
One final question. Do we have any open TCEQ violations?
You do not, and there's one minor exception to that. There was a question about some backflow preventers at the tennis courts and also at the airport. The previous operator had made those improvements and repairs that were required by TCEQ. I think that was a 2022 violation.
Okay.
Or at least, and noted in the inspection, but they did not submit that to TCEQ. We recently found that they had made that change, and we've submitted it to TCEQ. So, but other than that,
Yeah.
all the inspections have been good.
Okay. I do have one final question. Ms. Lander referred to some of the boil water notices. I think when we put into evidence, and you can validate this, I think some of those happened, the reasons for those in most cases were,
Yeah, there are always leaks.
yeah,
We only do that, when there's a leak and we lose pressure in the system, we're required by TCEQ, once that leak is repaired, the system's flushed, we're required to put out a boil water notice, take a bacteriological sample, and when that bacteriological sample comes in clear, then we release that boil water notice. But it's required by TCEQ anytime you lose pressure in the
Okay.
system.
so we were staying within TCEQ standards.
Yes, sir.
As far as that. Okay. No further questions?
Passing the witness. Any redirect?
Yeah, just a small amount of redirect. If you look at Windermere Exhibit 10, which is all of the AWR reports, if we look at July, And-
Is this in this book or is this in his packet?
I believe it's in what I passed to him. So if we look at July, I believe page 1 of 3, you should see a section related to TCEQ inspection. Do you see that? Page 1 of 3?
That's July. This might be just out of. It's
June.
July?
Is it June?
Oh, yes, I'll have it now.
My June has one of
You
two.
got it?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
So July, page 1 of 3, do you see a list of 4 items related to a TCEQ inspection?
Yes.
Yes? Would you mind just rolling through those for me?
Sure. Replace the turbidity meter, proposal included. Replace the chlorine analyzer, proposal included. Relocate the recycle location upstream of the raw water sample site. We're scheduling this work. Recommend evaluation of the current clarifier and continue working on plans for alternative.
Okay, so while there are no pending TCEQ violations, there are a number of things that TCEQ noted that do need attention. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. There's a difference between the inspection items and it moving all the way to the violation.
Of
These are the
course.
items that they would require us to do.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Hang on.
So what about item 13, the TCEQ?
report or where they outline a number of alleged violations, outstanding alleged violations, one of which is the system capacity has reached 100% of its pressure tank and surface pump capacity. And of course, they have a requirement that when you reach 85% of the capacity, then you really need to start taking action. So what's the story on item 13 in the letter from TCQ on August the 28th of '24?
Yeah, so these are evaluations of the actual facilities themselves and whether or not they need to be upgraded. And so they're evaluating the system based on, they're evaluating the system based upon the sizes and the capacity of the system, and they're making recommendations to make improvements to the system.
Well, they mentioned the turbidity equipment. They mentioned many of the other things you talked about in your operating report. So do you consider these, actions that need to be taken to make sure that you continue to have quality water supply?
Yes, ma'am. So the difference between the turbidity meters and chlorine analysis equipment, that equipment is more operating equipment. And so they also take a look at any capacities in the system of the actual tanks themselves and that sort of thing. So we view the chlorine analyzer, the turbidity meter, as replacement of just operating equipment. And this report also talks about, I haven't read it in detail here, I apologize for that. But they also take a look again at the size of tank, size of the hydromatic tank and various other tanks in the system. So again, differentiating between maintenance items that are replaced, which are the turbidity meters and chlorine meters, and maybe in this kind of report, they'll talk about actual increasing, maybe doubling the size of capacity of tanks and so forth.
Right, but in terms of the health of the system and the ability to provide quality service, it's important that not only you have the ongoing operational elements in place,
Absolutely.
as well
Those-
as, so, in your mind, does this kind of scream the need for capital investment, capital improvements?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And
Absolutely.
so
It's a
I'm
funding
kind of
issue.
surprised that you're not familiar with this report.
Well, I don't know that I've seen this particular report. This probably went to my operations manager, but again, in our contract, it provides that the utility will provide the necessary equipment for us to operate within TCQ guidelines. And as you can tell, on multiple months, we've been saying we need this turbidity meter, we need this chlorine analyzer, and so, at that point in time, that's about all we can do. We don't have the ability to go in and replace those items and force the utility to go purchase them, that sort of thing. So, again,
Do you see it in your purview to do asset management? Do you see it in your purview as one of your responsibilities to provide asset management advice, both capital improvement as well as ongoing operating procedures and operating?
Yeah, typically when we talked a little bit earlier about the engineer coming in, we made an early recommendation to the board of directors that they needed an engineer to come in and look at the entire system to find out what equipment's operating properly, what might need to be replaced in the near term, what probably would need to be replaced in the long term, and also provide us with a plan, the corporation with a plan to say, as you add additional connections, what equipment are you going to need? And we were able to get a proposal. Unfortunately, the board never acted on that proposal, and we lost that proposal. We recently had a second engineer come in and take a look at the plant and so forth. And he visited with the corporation's attorney, and he decided with all of the difficulties that were occurring out there, he did not want to do that. So, but that's really what needs to occur. That's who would make recommendations on all the pieces of equipment that are there, sizes of those equipment, and what would happen in the future. And that's not in our purview, not something we would do.
So your purview is just day-to-day operations?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct. Yeah, we're basically operating people and repair people for all of the equipment within the plant. But we don't design plants, we don't evaluate plants, the condition of them. That's an engineering function.
And so in your background, I didn't hear anything about licensed TCQ operator, or your
Yeah, so
operators.
we are a licensed water and wastewater operating company through TCQ, and anyone that's operating at that plant is a licensed TCQ trained operator, and we only send licensed operators there. We do have some repair people that work in the system itself. They don't do any type of plant operations, chemical adjustments, analysis, reporting, et cetera. They're all licensed TCQ operators.
So you do have some outstanding TCQ issues, not just on the operating side, but also on the capital side, on the physical plant side. I'm asking.
I can't speak to that, but I have to speak to the operator. Do we have violations out there? Do we have
Well, this
recommendations?
is your plant, so I mean, I'm asking you.
I mean, do we have recommendations to enhance? Absolutely. One of the things that we had to prioritize is where do we again spend our money? We were, holding off as best as we could to, we weren't publishing any violations. We knew this was presented to us about, is there a temporary solution that can be put forth? Do we be able to get that capital? Absolutely. I mean, we listen to them on a monthly basis. They come to our board meetings. And as far as, and you heard testimony, as far as what we've seen, there is no TCEQ violation. And we're within the guidelines. Are there recommendations? Absolutely. You can go out there and see the plan. You go, oh, I can recommend this, this, and this. So.
Commissioners, any further questions?
So as the operator, do you have people that are at their facilities every day,
Yes, sir. That's correct.
monitoring everything that's going on? How many, facility sites are there? Water, wastewater?
Sites that are inspected every day. Yes, sir. So there's the intake structure on the lake where the water's actually pumped from the lake to the plant. There's the plant facility itself on the water side, storage facility. And then on the wastewater side, I guess, are we talking wastewater also?
Yes, sir.
On the wastewater side, wastewater treatment plant, there are first lift stations pumping to the plant, and then the wastewater treatment plant and then disposal fields. And my people inspect those each day.
Is that common? I mean, if there's more technology, would you have people in those at all times? Is that what you do with your other utilities?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Commissioners, doesn't look like anything further for this witness. Sir, you're released. You may step out. Quick reminder.
Thank you, sir.
Quick reminder about not conversing about this docket until all the witness testimony concludes. Ms. Lander, do you have another witness?
I do, but could I actually get a quick time check, please? I have
And that-
about 27.
And that includes closing.
Of course. And for Windermere?
I believe he has around 35 minutes.
Okay.
This is not very scientific. I don't have that much on my phone.
We're all just doing our best.
Let's try to keep it under 30 minutes or less.
Okay. I think I'd like to go ahead and call Miss Flunker, please.
Do you want these going? Are these going here?
I don't remember.
Can I ask you again what item number the budget was?
The budget is, I believe, Windermere Exhibit Number 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, it's number 1.
All right, Ms. Flunker, I'm going to hand you a binder that hopefully will make it a little bit easier to move through this process. as easy as it can be. So I'm going to hand you that. And just so you know, we do need to keep this moving fairly quickly. I think we only have about 30 minutes left.
Okay.
And so I don't want to keep the commissioners or Judge Denmark or anyone else any longer than we have to. So first and foremost, can you tell me about your connection to Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation?
Yes, I am a member and a shareholder. I've been a member and shareholder for 19 years. And I've also was the ratepayer representative in PUC docket 50788.
Okay, and you said that you're the ratepayer representative. Did you pluck that title from thin air, or how did that happen?
No, I didn't. There were over 50 ratepayers in Windermere Oaks that signed a petition requesting that I be a ratepayer representative that met the 10% threshold.
Okay, and how long have you worked in the water industry?
I started my career working in the water industry for Texas Rural Water Association as a paralegal. That was for about 3.5 years, and then, of course, as a ratepayer representative for about 4.5 years.
Okay, just on average, how long would you say you have spent per week since the rate appeal began working on Windermere PUC matters?
On average, probably 10 hours.
10 hours a week?
10 hours a
So
week.
over the
reviewing,
course
researching.
of 4.5 years, 4 years, how many hours do you think?
In totality, I would say probably a rough estimate, probably 2,400.
Okay, so you would say that you're pretty knowledgeable about the laws that apply to Windermere?
Yeah, a water supply corporation, yes.
Yes, okay. Why so many filings? Why the rate appeal? Why the CCN amendment docket? Why the refund surcharge docket? Why are you here?
Well, like I said before, I'm a member, I'm a shareholder, and water supply corporations are these unique utilities in the state of Texas where it's member-owned and member-controlled. So we own the utility, and so we have a stake in whether it fails or it's successful. And because I have that experience, I have a stake in this corporation, and, you know, if I think I can help out, or if I can get involved to kind of steer the ship the right way, I definitely wanted to do that, and I had the support of the members asking me to get involved.
Okay, and so when you saw that there were issues in the CCN amendment docket and the refund surcharge docket for the rate appeal, why did you submit filings in those dockets?
Because of the information, or for the filings were inaccurate, the filings were not correct.
Okay, and before getting involved in the PUC dockets, did you try to let Windermere know that there were issues with the filings?
Yes,
Okay, was this before, during, or after your time as a board member?
it was all, before, during, and after.
Okay, how did they respond?
Typically, they wouldn't respond. If they did, they said, "We've got it handled."
Okay, and when you were on the board and you were trying to sort of get things together to submit things for the compliance docket, how did you prepare for that?
Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. In trying to sort of get organized to submit filings for the compliance docket whenever you were on the board, how did you prepare to do that?
So at the time, once I was on the board for a short period of time this year. And when I did get on the board, I knew that there was a lot of obligations on Windermere in that docket. And so I put together a spreadsheet and of every single obligation, what was required and the date and how often it was reoccurring.
Okay, to the best of your knowledge, has Windermere satisfied any of those requirements?
No.
No, okay. Let us take a quick look at, I think, staff exhibit number 1. So if we could turn to page 6 of 9, or it's also marked as page 7 at the bottom. And I want to take a look at finding of fact number 41. So in that finding of fact, does it indicate that Windermere acknowledged that it was providing service to non-members?
On page 41 of,
Finding of fact 41?
okay. An application might tariff change. I'm sorry, I think I'm on the wrong exhibit.
Would you just read Exhibit 1, Finding of Fact 41 for me, please?
Okay. Finding of fact 41. 41. Within 6 months following the commission's entry of an order approving this agreement, Windermere agrees to file an application for a minor tariff change, requesting the commission approve a revised tariff that ensures the service is provided in compliance with Texas Water Code, Section 13.00224. As part of this tariff, tenants must either become members or receive service as incident of tenancy.
Okay, are you aware of any revision to Windermere's tariff since the final order in docket 55454?
No.
If you take a look at, let's see, Staff Exhibit 14 at page either 6 or 5 of 7, because the page numbering is not great. That is, I believe, Windermere's responses to a series of RFIs filed in docket 55840, which is the CCN amendment docket. If you look at, I believe, RFI 1-40, does it indicate to you that Windermere was providing service to non-members?
Yes, to Spectrum Telco used for the hydrant for water to be used for their directional drilling machines.
And is Spectrum a member of Windermere Oaks?
No, they're not.
Did Spectrum pay Windermere for the water that it used?
It appears in this response, or I think, I don't know for sure.
But according to that response,
No, this, see RFI 143 for details on payments to Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation.
okay, thank you. So in addition, I know that you are familiar with the commission's interchange. So to your knowledge, has Windermere filed an updated tariff since it changed its rates in 2020?
No.
Has it filed an updated tariff since this commission set its rates in docket 50788 earlier this year?
No, they haven't.
Okay, so based on what you know, is Windermere adhering to Texas Water Code 13.136C, which requires water supply corporations to file copies of their tariffs with the commission?
No, they're non-compliant with that.
Okay. And let's see. Let's talk a little bit about docket 50788, which is the rate appeal. Windermere has indicated that it is struggling financially. So I want to look at Staff Exhibit 24, which is the final order, at 32 of 33, ordering paragraph number 4.
24?
Staff Exhibit 24 at 32 of 33.
Do you have a copy? I don't have a copy in here.
Of 50788. Let's see. I do. So,
Oh, here it is.
okay. So page 32 of 33, ordering paragraph number 4. Can you tell me what that says with regard to how Windermere is supposed to recover its rate case expense surcharge?
The commission approves a monthly surcharge of $39.21 per connection to recover $478,184.04 in the rate case expenses Windermere incurred in this proceeding through January 31st, 2023.
Okay, great. Can we take a look at Staff Exhibit 22, please? And this is the director's report that was filed as Exhibit 22. It's the September director's report. Have you reviewed this document?
I have.
And did you review this document to see how many connections are not being charged the surcharge or were not charged the surcharge in the month of September?
Yes.
And have you done the math to know about how much money Windermere is not collecting per month in surcharges?
It's about $1,000.
Okay, so about $12,000 a year?
Correct.
Okay, let's talk about the rates and revenue established by docket 50788. So the rates were designed based on 271 water and 245 sewer. And according to, I believe, Windermere Exhibit number 11, there are 301 water and there are 280 sewer. Are you familiar with that exhibit?
Exhibit 11?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you see those numbers?
Yep.
Okay, so my question for you is, if the rates were designed at 271 and 245, and they are now at 301 and 280, how much more money is Windermere recovering in base rates than the commission anticipated when it set the rates in March?
I believe my calculations, it was for like water and sewer, I believe it was like 24,000.
Okay,
It was.
and have you done the math to know how much more money they're collecting in volumetric rates?
I think that was around 17,000 I
Okay.
calculated.
So 17,000 plus 24,000 plus the 12,000 they're leaving on the table in a surcharge. That brings us to what, 53,000? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And do you think that saying that a water bill is $7 paints an accurate picture of Windermere's financial situation?
It does not.
Okay, let's take a look at Staff Exhibit 19.
Okay.
Okay, so these are, have you looked through these before? And these are sample water and sewer bills for Windermere Oaks?
Yes.
Okay, great. Can you just turn through those for me and tell me some of the total amounts for bills that you see?
60, 61, 47, 49. We've got 104, 26, and they all have the sewer surcharge on them and the credit. So they're, I think, from when the new rates went in. 61, 25, 30, 53, 72, 75, 129.78, $231.51.
Okay, I think that gives us a pretty good idea that, again, $7 is not an average bill for a Windermere ratepayer. Let's look at, actually, tell me this. Did you notice anything else that was strange about those bills?
I did. At the bottom of the bill, it'll say the billing period from to, and there's various, there's no consistency. Some are 26 days, some are 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. There's no rhyme or reason.
Okay, and are you familiar with Windermere's tariff?
I am.
Okay, can you tell me what the appropriate billing range is, the dates on which the billing periods are supposed to start?
It should be the 21st of each month to the 21st of the following month.
Is that what you see on any of those bills?
I do not.
Okay, and so do you know that volumetric charges for water are dependent on the amount of the amount of water that you use per month?
Yes.
Okay, and so if somebody used more water in a given month because the billing period was longer, they could end up paying more money than they were supposed to?
Correct.
And then the other way around, if it was a shorter billing period, they might end up paying less than they should have?
Correct.
And that could undermine the consistency of Windermere's revenue?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm curious, at any time, have you done the math to know whether, based on Windermere's 2023 actuals, less extraordinary expenses, which I believe are represented in Windermere Exhibit 1, that's the budget exhibit. Have you done the math to know if Windermere should have been able to cover its operating expenses in 2024?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
And what was your conclusion?
That based on the revenue, that they should be able to meet what the revenue requirement was from the rate appeal.
Okay. And did you share your conclusions about Windermere's projected revenue with the board and the rest of your community?
I did.
Okay. And during your time as a board member, did you ever put together a document showing how the new rates, revenues, and surcharges would impact Windermere's revenue?
I did.
Okay. And is that Staff Exhibit 27?
It is, I believe.
Okay,
Just
and
look at it. Yes, that's it.
About how much did you anticipate Windermere would bring in per month once the new rates were in effect?
I don't have 27. I go from 25 to 20.
Yes, sir, that was the
28.
binder for my examination of you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Ms. Flecker, about how much per month or how much per year did you anticipate that Windermere would bring in revenue once the new rates were in place?
I had $10,000 in base rates, and then I had $11,000 in the tier rates, and that was being very conservative. And that was based on the 271 water and sewer, I believe, or actually, no, that was based on the 301. So I think my final was at 360,000. And like I said, it was very conservative because it wasn't taking into consideration anything beyond like 301 or other types of revenue.
Okay, so, and you shared that with the board and the rest of the membership?
I presented the annual membership meeting.
Okay, so now that we have a handle on the amount that you anticipated for Windermere's monthly revenue, let's take a look at Exhibit 21 for a second. Will you please read me the fourth complete paragraph?
Okay, this is, I guess, from Jeff Walker to Merritt Lander. It's an email. And it says, no corporation can't sustain on that amount of revenue for water and sewer services. This sustainability data was all out there in our operational cost report from 2019 to 2023. Didn't anyone from PUC realize that capitalized revenue would cut by 95% with these new rate refunds and that operating costs would remain the same? Real good analysis, PUC. Hint, I, along with 50% of the membership, used to pay $180 a month prior to the rate appeal taking effect. No corporation survives on 95% revenue reduction. Thank you again, PUC, for putting us in this situation. And please don't blame the previous board. This is pure data analysis.
Okay, let's take a look at Windermere Exhibit 1, which is Windermere's 2024 budget. Can you tell me Windermere's total revenue for 2022?
Total revenue for 2022 is 705,881.
Okay, for 2023?
Actually, I take that back. Was it actual?
Actual income for
Okay.
2022.
It's actually 713,883.62 cents, and the actual for 2023 is 727,923.33 cents.
Okay, would you accept my representation that a 95% reduction of $714,000, which is the lower of the two previous years, is $35,000 and $35,700?
Yes.
Okay. And let's take a look at Windermere Exhibit 3, which is their monthly P&L year-to-date. Could you please tell me their total income for January through September of 2024?
Total income is $388,939.61 cents.
Okay, so just for the record, $388,939 is significantly higher than $35,700, which is the 5% that Mr. Walker represented Windermere would be bringing in?
Correct.
Okay,
Ms. Lander, just let you know you've got about 9 minutes left for.
9 minutes left, okay. Let's see, we've talked about the boil water notices. Let's see. In your experience as a ratepayer rep and a member of Windermere, has Windermere satisfied its obligations to this commission?
I don't believe they have.
Has it filed inconsistent information repeatedly over the last 4.5 years?
Yes.
Okay. And in the numerous Windermere dockets that you have followed, have you seen repeated instances of Windermere ignoring commission orders?
Yes.
Do you want to see Windermere fail?
I do not.
Does it benefit you in any way if Windermere fails?
No.
In your opinion, what is the best way for Windermere to succeed?
adhere to commission orders, be compliant with their tariff, their bylaws, the infrastructure, repair all the issues we have, and put the utility before anything else, providing safe drinking water.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Witness Mr. Walker, when you're ready.
Ms. Flunker, you stated that you're the ratepayer representative and have a petition. Do you have that petition on you that was signed by the 50 members? Okay, you entered it as that you had a copy of the petition that was signed by 10% of the membership.
I don't think I stated I had a copy.
Well, you stated that you had got a petition for it.
I said it was filed.
Okay,
It was filed in PUC docket 50788.
okay. That was for the rate appeal?
That's correct.
Okay. You mentioned something about in there when Ms. Lander was referring to the spectrum, to the accounts. For clarification purposes, that was a subcontractor. It was under account number ENEN, which was the subcontractor to Spectrum to provide water for their drilling services for the POA to provide a fiber optic capability within the community. And that was just an account that was put into place.
Objection, I believe that the opposing party is testifying.
Sustained.
Okay, I'm just asking for clarification from.
Should just be a question.
Yeah, I'll state it in a question, I'm sorry. You mentioned it at Spectrum. Are you aware of ENEN as the subcontractor?
If that was what was in the RFI response.
Okay. So that, I would take that as a no, that you were unaware that Spectrum didn't have an account.
Objection, that's a mischaracterization of the witness's testimony.
Sustained, can you please rephrase?
Well, she said that Spectrum was one of the accounts, and I'm just clarifying that that is not true. Spectrum is not one of the accounts in our log, but I will move on. Do we have, in what you saw in the, or what you'll hear from Brian, you mentioned a $478,000 debt that was due based upon the rate order. Is that correct? Are you aware that we still carry that on our books?
I don't understand your question.
Do we have an obligation to Lloyd Gosling for over $478,000 in legal fees from the rate appeal? I mean, you were the one who, yeah. I mean, is that?
Can you point me to an exhibit?
Is that a true statement?
Can you point me to an exhibit? I don't know that. Can you point me to an exhibit?
That would be an exhibit. I think if it's not in the P&L or it's in the general ledger, it should be noted in there that we have an obligation to Lloyd Gosling, or not, yeah, Lloyd Gosling of over $500,000.
If you can show me an exhibit.
Exhibit 2. Sorry, 3.
Your exhibit 3?
Yes. If you can find it in there. Or I can move on to another question.
Where would I find?
Let's just move on to another question. In regards to Exhibit 22 that was identified in the director's report, can you identify in this report what the total receipts were for that month, which was the month that was being read? It's Exhibit 22.
Is it staff's 22?
Yes, staff's 22.
Okay, can you tell me what page?
Opening page. Director's report, can you tell me their total receipts amount that we received for that given time period?
Okay, so that is for water, sewer, and surcharge, late charge, adjustments, water credit, sewer credit, tax. It says 22,164 based on 246 accounts.
If I can provide clarification, that's how many bills went out. How many total receipts of that account were received? 22, I'll help you out. It's down halfway down the page. It's $22,164, of which 246 people had paid that. That's what our monthly revenue is that we receive. That is total receipts on account. and the number of accounts is listed at 246.
Does that include standby fees and everything else and late
That
and
is
interest?
everything. That is everything that we get into the bank on a monthly basis. So we don't receive the numbers that were brought forth by that. In regards to a usage breakdown, on page 3 of that document, you talked about usage breakdown, and specifically my bill. Of what I represent is a 95%.
Objection, outside the scope?
Well, you went to my bill and you said that, is that a fair representation of my bill being 95% of what I was paying before? And I'm just clarifying, because she testified to it, that she was looking at bills in here that you had provided, and you were clarifying, or you were having her read my email to you about that. I was just getting a percentage of people that were in my category of the type of bill that I pay. The usage, because it's all about usage. I don't hit the top tier as far as usage. I'm at the lower tier. So I'm just clarifying the bills that were being paid.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, do you
Actually, an
know?
objection on the table.
It was sustained.
Sustained,
Okay.
thank
Let's-
you.
Okay.
Let me, I'll just rephrase it. You stated that, or Ms. Lander stated, but I'll go to the witness, stated that the email that was read by Ms. Flunker was misconstrued. That was my bill. Do you know the percentage of people that have a similar bill to mine?
We discussed your bill based on the charge, and we discussed the billing of the dates. That's what I discussed on that.
Okay.
I didn't talk about usage.
Okay. But do you have an idea of how many percentage of our users are at a similar bill as mine within the community?
I'll be honest, I didn't look at your usage. I wasn't focusing on usage.
Okay, well, in the examples that were put forth in here that you were commenting on, there were discussions about bills and rates, and were all of them pertaining to mine as being $7. You brought up you commented on various bills that were in here. I'm just trying to understand how many bills, how many users have a similar bill as to mine?
I don't know, because I didn't look at your water usage. I looked at what you were charged for, your amount that
Okay,
was due.
well-
That's what I looked at.
Well, for clarification, you can find this page on usage breakdown of the 320 accounts that use less than X number of gallons of water, and you can figure out what percentage of users have a common bill of mine. That's all I'm trying to get to. And you stated in your testimony that there was a lot of people that were generating revenue, but I'm finding in the usage report, or in the director's report, that we're not generating that much revenue. It's clearly right there, total receipts of accounts is brought forth there of 22,000. Yeah, we're only reporting 246 accounts. We're 40 short, but I just wanted to make sure we clarified that testimony. Other than that, I have nothing else.
Passing the witness.
I'm sorry? Yeah,
You're
I'm
done with questions for her. Do you have any redirect?
No, no, Judge.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for this witness?
Real quick, he just said 246 accounts were 40 short. Does that mean they can't find 40 of the charges they're supposed to be charging? What does that mean
That's
to
a
you?
really good question. I'm a little confused by that, too.
I can provide clarification.
You're not the
So
witness, sir.
It's the total receipts on accounts. It says 22,164, and in that column next to it, number of accounts, it says 246. We know that they have, I guess it was 301, so,
Right.
and, yeah, I mean, it's kind of confusing if you look at it, but at the bottom, it says total receipts, or in the middle part of it, 246. 246, the receipts are based on 246 ratepayers.
Okay.
If you would like clarification on that.
No, thank you.
Okay. Because again, it says.
You're not the witness, I'm sorry.
It says receipts.
I had a question on that same page, the Director's Report Exhibit 22.
Yes.
And that says collection amounts, amount owed $34,205.40, number of accounts 498. Can you explain that 498? Is that account months? that are in arrears?
I could give you what my opinion is, and it's, I could take a stab, but because Windermere, it just depends. They generate new customer numbers. Sometimes they reuse a customer number. So I think if I'm not mistaken, they're like at 816 right now. And so if you do the math, they've got 301, so subtract those numbers. So maybe there's money left on the table with these previous members, whether it's $10 or it's that they owe. Because of course you can't collect from somebody else. That membership is tied to that person, not to the property. And so it's possible that maybe they just left and moved out and there was money that wasn't collected. That's how I would maybe consider that.
So again, so like turned off accounts, which is right above that, which is 12,451, and collection accounts, 34,205. I mean, if we're, are these just totally, for a water supply company that has financial problems, I think they would be trying to get as much revenue as they possibly could from these. Is there any, am I understanding that correctly?
One would
from those two
think.
lines?
They also do charge something called a standby fee, sometimes referred to like a reserve service, and that's about $230. So there could be people in arrears on that, but are they given an account number? I would think they do have one based on the fact that they're billing them. It has to be tied to an account number. So that's a possibility, that there's quite a lot of money out there for in arrears standby fees, in addition to previous water bills. It's hard to know that because they're not allocating it to specific types of collection that are in collection.
Commissioners, any other questions? Ms. Funker, we're done with you.
Okay.
If you want to go back to the room and hang out, and then once, no speaking to anybody else at this point, and then once witness testimony, which is almost done, we'll let you back in if you want to hear the closing.
Thank you.
At this point, Ms. Lander, you've got about 8 minutes for direct cross and close. Mr. Walker, you're getting right at the 20-minute mark for any witnesses and close as well.
Fine. Yeah, I would like.
But she's still on.
fine, okay.
But I just want to give everybody a time countdown. Ms. Lander, do you have any other witnesses?
No other witnesses on direct. I'm not going to call Mr. Garso.
Okay, you're resting at this point. Or not
have
rest,
cross, yes.
cross, but, okay. Mr. Walker, you may proceed with your first witness.
Yeah, I'm going to call Brian Garzo.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Walker, you may proceed.
Brian, can you state your name and your affiliation here?
My name is Brian Garceau. I am a recent board member of WOWSC.
And my question to you is, over the last 90 to 120 days, you have been diligently working on our financials. Can you respond to how that's been going and where we're at from a financial standpoint?
Sure, and good afternoon, Commissioners. I do have a couple of things to start out. I'm, as I mentioned, a volunteer and appointed member of the BOD here at Class D Water Corp. I was added to the board in the spring of this year.
Objection non-responsive. Mr. Walker simply asked what Mr. Garso's opinion of the WOWSC's financial health was.
Sustain.
I didn't ask what the health of it was. I asked him for what he's been doing from a reporting standpoint. So if you can clarify what you've been doing and what are we reporting now as far as our financials in both the P&L and G&L capable?
And just so I'm clear, there was an objection to me proceeding. Can I proceed? Am I able to proceed?
He's now rephrased the question.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, so I've been working with our accounting team for a few months, and more recently also with our bookkeepers. We are making pretty good progress toward getting our finances in order, but we have a long way to go. The financial documents that we are receiving now month to month and the supporting data are mature enough that we have started sharing and reviewing these documents in a facilitated manner with our members in our business meetings. During this effort, I've also learned much about other aspects of our corporation where it regards our records management and artifact storage have been a challenge, but it has been improving. The problem has impacted our ability to respond to various types of requests or to use in support of initiatives such as our financial and IRS audits that are now in play. Our accounting basis, our current accountants who were brought in to begin working with us at the start of this year set us up with the accrual method of basis of accounting. The former accounting and board used the cash basis. Our current bookkeepers are still on the cash basis in their work. This hybrid situation effectually blinds the board to a number of areas, and I'm currently working to bring bookkeeping into the accrual method to achieve the complete picture that managers, that's us, there's a board, and our members can use to make more accurate business decisions. Before proceeding, and as I introduce some of the current numbers that we have, I need to mention that although I believe them to be accurate, they are sourced from the updated financial records from our accountant. We have financial audit in process now, but that initiative has not completed. And so I need to let you know and make clear that the numbers I mentioned have not been audited. As far as liabilities go, we have relative to our small size, we have enormous liabilities, specifically payables. Many are delinquent, well over 90 days, and some go back to 2020. We have over $500,000 in delinquent payables right now. Assets and depreciation. I've found no indication that the prior board, working on a cash basis, maintained depreciation records, and of course that would be expected with the cash basis. So our asset depreciation is incomplete, possibly also inaccurate. This is another area of concern and another activity that will require significant time investment on our parts, and it's one area where our financial auditors are also struggling right now. Our financial position as of the September close is that we had $25,500 in cash available. Our average monthly spend this year to date is $11,000 per month. So some quick math would tell you that as of the end of September, we have 2.3 months available of cash. We are solvent overall with $605,000 in equity. Of course, that's all in assets. We have 3 outstanding bank loans with a combined principal totaling $556,000. And for these, we are paying interest only right now and have been for several months, month to month. There are many other areas where we have a need for cash so that we can honor our obligations. However, as mentioned, we have very limited and fast declining available cash. I could also mention that our financial audit cost to date is $17,000. However, our auditors have essentially stalled about 2 months ago, partially because we had a request for them to talk to us about their work product to date and also their methodology so that we could measure their progress against the goal that we expect of them producing a full audit. That's my testimony.
Good. A couple of clarification points. You mentioned a $500,000 debt. Do you know what that is? Is it there some explanation? What is that?
The
majority of it.
Sure, the majority of it is legal fees, quite frankly. And legal fees from the court case, which I can never remember the name of. But essentially, we located, and I had our accountants add that as a liability This is an invoice that we received at the end of last year, $500-something thousand and some change. And I know a good deal of that is a $400-something thousand figure included in the ratepayer case. So yes, the mass of it is legal fees.
Okay.
Prior legal fees.
Are those the Lloyd Gosling that assisted us?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned 11,500 number. Is that what we're in the hole each month on?
Yes, and the way I derive that figure is, in our case, again, because it's a hybrid kind of accounting that we have going on right now, I'm able to take the net income at the end of each month and add it up for the period. We have numbers that should be accurate from January through September. So I take the total for that period, divide it by 9, and I can tell you on average, which of course gets more accurate, more months you go, on average, $11,000 negative every month.
Okay. And you're pretty confident of these new numbers that you've been producing?
It's the best we can do based upon the info on hand, which is why I mentioned the records issue.
Okay. And you're finding records both physically as well as electronically?
I am not finding any physical records. I have yet to see the place where they are stored, which I am told is a big mess, or was a big mess, and is getting working through that over time.
That's all the questions I have.
Ms. Lander, do you have any cross with your limited time?
I have actually just one question. How much this year on legal expenses?
This year, I don't know that number off the top of my head. So we have a new legal team. I can say that...
Actually, would you mind taking a look at the exhibit that you guys filed? It's your year-to-date monthly P&L.
Okay, perfect. I do recall that it's about $24,000 per month that went down drastically recently.
Okay, so...
I mean, it's quite extensive. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
It's a real small font, so.
it is a very small font. I'd love to help you out. Once you get to that page, I can tell you that it has been, I don't want to testify for you, so.
Okay, so 18, 20, 14, 26, 24, 10.
Okay, and remind me what exhibit number that is?
Exhibit 3.
Okay, Windermere Exhibit 3?
Yeah, Windermere Exhibit 3.
So,
Yes.
$111,000 this year, approximately, on legal expenses?
As of September?
As of September. Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Any redirect, Mr. Walker?
Yeah, if I could. Brian, do you have a breakdown of what those legal expenses were covering for this year?
Tell me what you mean by breakdown.
Well,
of legal expenses.
what they were being spent on.
I believe one exists. I didn't bring it with me. Do you have that? I think our current legal team provides their invoice categorized so that we can see PIA requests and phone calls, all sorts of things, all very neatly, pretty good detail. I'm satisfied with it anyway from what I've seen.
Okay, good. That's all I have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I just have one quick question. The testimony you read, I just want to make sure you prepared that wasn't prepared by somebody else that you were reading, correct?
That's correct.
I know
All
it's
my
a
own.
nerve-wracking experience,
Yes, it
but
is.
I just want to make sure that's coming from your words. Okay, thank you.
My question is, in your forensic analysis of the data, are you aware of a number of meters that are delinquent or homeowners that are delinquent on their bills?
That, I am not specifically like that, haven't been tracking that. The way I've been progressing is really from the top down. And I'm at the point now where I can start to go deeper into different areas. In fact, the next place I'm going to is our our bookkeeping staff, if you will, if you want to call it that, which is really our office admin and a volunteer. That's what we have. And so I'm going to talk to them about their processes and procedures because I want to be able to month substantiate those numbers that are on our P&L and stuff. And in order to do that, I need to see how that these bills are getting into the system and when, to make sure they are getting in all of them, and determine what the decision process is to determine which bills to pay, at what time, et cetera. I haven't been involved in any of those decisions. I'm not trying to inject myself. I'm trying to determine what the processes are so that we, for a number of reasons, not the least of which is, if there's a big bill that comes in, I want to make sure that it's approved in the proper manner, in the way it should be. Things like that. So, but what you mentioned is yet another that we could put on the pile of things to do. There are 3 board members, 1 paid staff, 1 volunteer.
Commissioner Glotfelty, if you take a look at Staff Exhibit 22, if you turn to page 7, it's labeled at the bottom, you'll see a past due list that continues on to page 8. I can't say for certain that that is the entirety of the past due accounts held by Windermere Oaks, but at least it does address some of what I think you were looking for.
Yeah, I don't have any more.
His
Sorry.
question.
I thought you were waiting on me for some odd reason.
Are these people still members of the supply corporation?
To the best of my knowledge, they are.
So they're their own worst enemy?
It's funny how that works.
So these members of this corporation, on this page alone, it says, they are members of this group, and they owe their company $27,557.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Garzo? All right, Mr. Garzo, you are free.
It's actually Garceau. It's
Garceau, I keep
French-Canadian.
pronouncing it wrong.
I wouldn't expect you to get it. It's a French-Canadian name. I'm from New England, but thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right, we, at this point, are at about 7 minutes left and about 9 minutes left. Are we resting at this point?
Staff rests, yes.
Okay. Mr. Walker, are you done before closing with witnesses?
No, I'm done with witnesses, yes.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Ms. Lander or Mr. Walker at this time? I think we can proceed with our closing statements. Commission staff, you can go ahead and start.
All right, thank you, Judge Denmark, Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you again for your time today. After the last 3.5 hours, 2.5 hours, I think we can all see that Windermere cannot manage its own affairs. It has thumbed its nose at this commission and at its own members. It has repeatedly and habitually ignored the commission, and its board has made its disdain for the commission clear. It has ignored its customers, disregarding their experience and their desire to see the WSC succeed. It can't adhere to its own tariff. It can't adhere to its own bylaws. It could not present a coherent rate design. It's under investigation by the IRS. It hasn't made plans to update its infrastructure. There are leaks. There are boil water notices. Their equipment is obsolete. The potential health hazards are very real. Almost every time I open a Windermere document or spreadsheet, I see another error, another inconsistency. One of the commission's ALJs grew so tired of Windermere's non-compliance that he asked staff to file a recommendation on what to do. And here we are. I genuinely do not see any option besides a temporary manager. Forcing Windermere to pay administrative penalties only hurts the ratepayers. And while having a temporary manager isn't free, it at least comes with the benefit of helping Windermere get its affairs in order. But right now, It's time for Windermere to see the consequences of its actions and its inactions. This commission cannot allow any utility, big or small, to ignore its orders and ignore the law over and over and over. And it is possible that the board wants to apologize, wants to say it's sorry, wants to say that it will do better. But the time for apologies has passed. The time for exceptions has passed. Windermere has had ample time to address its shortcomings. In docket 56167, the ALJ gave Windermere multiple chances to get it right. Windermere did not even respond to those orders. And that's the essence of the problem. Windermere doesn't think enough of this commission to grace it with a response, even less fulfill the requirements that it chose to submit to. Ultimately, a slap on the wrist doesn't help Windermere's customers. Things are in such a state of disarray that Windermere desperately needs professional help. Giving them more time to satisfy the requirements that it has ignored for months won't put its infrastructure right. Giving it more time won't magically make Windermere capable of simply filing consistent information with the commission. The members of Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation need our help, and after today, I hope the commission can see that help is warranted. And where we can help ratepayers and are justified in helping them, we should. And for that reason, staff respectfully requests that the commission issue an order appointing a temporary manager for Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation. Thank you.
Mr. Walker?
Thank you very much, everybody in this room, Commission, Ms. Denmark, and so on. I don't disagree. I said it from the beginning. We definitely have issues. There's no doubt about it. And I can't tell you enough what it comes down to. It comes down to money. And I will go back to the report, the director's report here of the 246 members. Those are receipts that we received at the time of the report. We received $22,164 for 246 members. Yes, that was receipts that we received. So I want to make that clarification. You had probably 40 members in there. You don't get much above $30,000 a month that we're generating in receipts. So I wanted to clarify that as far as the director's report. Those reports are very detailed, they're very old, they do need to be updated, and it does take some navigation and understanding of them. It took me a while to get with that. We are not habitual, as Ms. Lander said about our filings and such. We're doing the best we can with 3 individuals on the board, limited money, and a lot of things thrown at us. It was just presented about an IRS audit. Did we anticipate that in 2024? Heck no. That was issued by a member within the community. Who does that to their own corporation? That's an audit of 2022 of the way we did our taxes. Boy, if that was me, what I would have done is come to the board and say, hey, you're about ready to file your 2023 taxes. Make sure you look at these areas. Make sure, because what we found, in our analysis was, hey, there might have been some things missing. But instead, somebody filed an audit against us within the IRS, and you got to respond. Unless the PUC has the capability of going up in front of the IRS and saying, well, we're going to put these guys off because they got to spend some money on a compliance filing, that's a tough call to make. You heard from Hal in regards to our operations. You betcha, we got an old system. There's no doubt about it. We don't even have a clarifier. That's a big deal. That's a $300,000+ investment that we need to make. You can't make that with the rates the way they are. You heard from Brian. We got a $500,000 legal bill that's still outstanding. You add that to what they're asking us for an infrastructure standpoint. How do you pay for that? The only way you pay for it is with a rate is through rates and through revenue. We just don't have it. We can't sustain. You can look at those bills, and it would be great if there was a comparison to what we used to pay to what is being paid now, and you'll see it's significant. I showed you my example. It is the most extreme, but I think it's 19% of the membership out there that have a bill like mine. That's a lot of members. That's a lot of members who are generating a $7 bill to go against operations. So, like I said, we don't disagree from a board standpoint and from the memberships that are sitting back here of assigning a temporary manager. Not at all. Come help us out. But he better be ready for a lot of stuff that's going to hit him right off the bat. And the first thing is going to be revenue, as Brian pointed out, of how we're not functioning bad. It's we just don't have enough operating capital to maintain. We're losing $11,500 a month. That's significant in a water utility. We didn't have that problem before the rate appeal went into play. Anybody ask that question up here? We didn't have that problem. We had it after the rate appeal and once those new rates got into play. We still had legal bills, just like we do now. And they were much more significant, but we were able to pay them. But as soon as the rate order came in, wow. Same operator was doing our work. They were involved since August of 2023. So we knew what that cost was. But sure enough, we get ourselves into financial problems, and you look at the P&L, it all started once the new rates went into play. That's what it's about. Thank you very much, and I'm concluding, because I want to go home. And I know you do too.
Commissioners, do you have anything further?
No.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Walker, Ms. Lander, Judge Denmark, all the witnesses, all the residents who came and showed up today. Appreciate you taking the time to come out. So with the adjournment of that commission-held hearing, I will reconvene our regularly scheduled open meeting and call up item number 13. That's docket 57065, petition for an order appointing a temporary manager to Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation. So we heard a lot of evidence, a lot of testimony. You know, obviously, Mr. Walker said that he doesn't object to a temporary manager. I think we have a lot to consider. If we're going to appoint a temporary manager, I want to make sure the order is right. And so I think what I'd say at this point, what I'd recommend is let's let OPDM come up with bullet points and give us briefing ahead of the November 14th open meeting, and then move forward at the November 14th open meeting, if that works for everybody.
Yes.
Okay. Sheila, is there anything else?
No, sir.
All right. With there being no further business before us, this meeting of the Public Utility Commission of Texas is hereby adjourned.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Walker, you may proceed.
Brian, can you state your name and your affiliation here?
My name is Brian Garceau. I am a recent board member of WOWSC.
And my question to you is, over the last 90 to 120 days, you have been diligently working on our financials. Can you respond to how that's been going and where we're at from a financial standpoint?
Sure, and good afternoon, Commissioners. I do have a couple of things to start out. I'm, as I mentioned, a volunteer and appointed member of the BOD here at Class D Water Corp. I was added to the board in the spring of this year.
Objection non-responsive. Mr. Walker simply asked what Mr. Garceau's opinion of the WOWSC's financial health was.
Sustain.
I didn't ask what the health of it was. I asked him for what he's been doing from a reporting standpoint. So if you can clarify what you've been doing and what are we reporting now as far as our financials in both the P&L and G&L capable?
And just so I'm clear, there was an objection to me proceeding. Can I proceed? Am I able to proceed?
He's now rephrased the question.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, so I've been working with our accounting team for a few months, and more recently also with our bookkeepers. We are making pretty good progress toward getting our finances in order, but we have a long way to go. The financial documents that we are receiving now month to month and the supporting data are mature enough that we have started sharing and reviewing these documents in a facilitated manner with our members in our business meetings. During this effort, I've also learned much about other aspects of our corporation where it regards our records management and artifact storage have been a challenge, but it has been improving. The problem has impacted our ability to respond to various types of requests or to use in support of initiatives such as our financial and IRS audits that are now in play. Our accounting basis, our current accountants who were brought in to begin working with us at the start of this year set us up with the accrual method of basis of accounting. The former accounting and board used the cash basis. Our current bookkeepers are still on the cash basis in their work. This hybrid situation effectually blinds the board to a number of areas, and I'm currently working to bring bookkeeping into the accrual method to achieve the complete picture that managers, that's us, there's a board, and our members can use to make more accurate business decisions. Before proceeding, and as I introduce some of the current numbers that we have, I need to mention that although I believe them to be accurate, they are sourced from the updated financial records from our accountant. We have financial audit in process now, but that initiative has not completed. And so I need to let you know and make clear that the numbers I mentioned have not been audited. As far as liabilities go, we have relative to our small size, we have enormous liabilities, specifically payables. Many are delinquent, well over 90 days, and some go back to 2020. We have over $500,000 in delinquent payables right now. Assets and depreciation. I've found no indication that the prior board, working on a cash basis, maintained depreciation records, and of course that would be expected with the cash basis. So our asset depreciation is incomplete, possibly also inaccurate. This is another area of concern and another activity that will require significant time investment on our parts. And it's one area where our financial auditors are also struggling right now. Our financial position as of the September close is that we had $25,500 in cash available. Our average monthly spend this year to date is $11,000 per month. So some quick math would tell you that as of the end of September, we have 2.3 months available of cash. We are solvent overall with $605,000 in equity. Of course, that's all in assets. We have 3 outstanding bank loans with a combined principal totaling $556,000. And for these, we are paying interest only right now and have been for several months, month to month. There are many other areas where we have a need for cash so that we can honor our obligations. However, as mentioned, we have very limited and fast declining available cash. I could also mention that our financial audit cost to date is $17,000. However, our auditors have essentially stalled about 2 months ago, partially because we had a request for them to talk to us about their work product to date and also their methodology so that we could measure their progress against the goal that we expect of them producing a full audit. That's my testimony.
Okay. A couple of clarification points. You mentioned a $500,000 debt. Do you know what that is? Is it there some explanation? What is that?
The
majority of it.
Sure, the majority of it is legal fees, quite frankly. And legal fees from the court case, which I can never remember the name of. But essentially, we located, and I had our accountants add that as a liability. This is an invoice that we received at the end of last year, $500-something and some change. And I know a good deal of that is a $400-something figure included in the ratepayer case. So yes, the mass of it is legal fees,
Okay.
prior legal fees.
Are those the Lloyd Gosling that assisted us?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned 11,500 number. Is that what we're in the hole each month on?
Yes, and the way I derive that figure is, in our case, again, because it's a hybrid kind of accounting that we have going on right now, I'm able to take the net income at the end of each month and add it up for the period. We have numbers that should be accurate from January through September. So I take the total for that period, divide it by 9, and I can tell you on average, which of course gets more accurate, more months you go, on average, $11,000 negative every month.
And you're pretty confident of these new numbers that you've been producing?
It's the best we can do based upon the info on hand, which is why I mentioned the records issue.
Okay. And you're finding records both physically as well as electronically?
I am not finding any physical records. I have yet to see the place where they are stored, which I am told is a big mess, or was a big mess, and is getting working through that over time.
That's all the questions I have.
Ms. Lander, do you have any cross with your limited time?
I have actually just one question. How much this year on legal expenses?
This year, I don't know that number off the top of my head. So we have a new legal team. I can say that.
Actually, would you mind taking a look at the exhibit that you guys filed? It's your year-to-date monthly P&L.
Okay, perfect. I do recall that it's about $24,000 per month that went down drastically recently.
Okay, so.
I mean, it's quite extensive. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so.
It's a real small font, so.
It is a very small font. I'd love to help you out. Once you get to that page, I can tell you that it has been, I don't want to testify for you, so.
Okay, so 18, 20, 14, 26, 24, 10.
Okay, and remind me what exhibit number that is?
Exhibit 3.
Okay, Windermere Exhibit 3.
Yeah, Windermere Exhibit 3.
So,
Yes.
$111,000 this year, approximately, on legal expenses?
As of September?
As of September. Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Any redirect, Mr. Walker?
Yeah, if I could. Brian, do you have a breakdown of what those legal expenses were covering for this year?
Tell me what you mean by breakdown of legal expenses.
What they were being spent on.
I believe one exists. I didn't bring it with me. Do you have that? I think our current legal team provides their invoice categorized so that we can see PIA requests and phone calls, all sorts of things, all very neatly, pretty good detail. I'm satisfied with it anyway from what I've seen.
Okay, good. That's all I have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I just have one quick question. The testimony you read, I just want to make sure you prepared that. That wasn't prepared by somebody else that you were reading, correct? I know it's a nerve-wracking experience,
Yes, it
but
is.
I just want to make sure that's coming from your words. Okay, thank you.
Right, my question is, in your forensic analysis of the data, are you aware of a number of meters that are delinquent or homeowners that are delinquent on their bills?
That, I am not specifically like that. I haven't been tracking that. The way I've been progressing is really from the top down. And I'm at the point now where I can start to go deeper into different areas. In fact, the next place I'm going to is our bookkeeping staff, if you will, if you want to call it that, which is really our office admin and a volunteer. That's what we have. And so I'm going to talk to them about their processes and procedures because I want to be able to month substantiate those numbers that are on our P&L and stuff. And in order to do that, I need to see how that these bills are getting into the system and when, to make sure they are getting in all of them, and determine what the decision process is to determine which bills to pay, at what time, et cetera. I haven't been involved in any of those decisions. I'm not trying to inject myself. I'm trying to determine what the processes are so that we, for a number of reasons, not the least of which is, if there's a big bill that comes in, I want to make sure that it's approved in the proper manner, in the way it should be. Things like that. So, but what you mentioned is yet another that we could put on the pile of things to do. There are 3 board members, 1 paid staff, 1 volunteer.
Commissioner Glotfelty, if you take a look at Staff Exhibit 22, if you turn to page 7, it's labeled at the bottom, you'll see a past due list that continues on to page 8. I can't say for certain that that is the entirety of the past due accounts held by Windermere Oaks, but at least it does address some of what I think you were looking for.
Yeah, I don't have any more.
It's
Sorry.
question.
I don't know what it made for some odd reason.
Are these people still members of the Supply Corporation?
To the best of my knowledge, they are.
So they're their own worst enemy?
It's funny how that works.
So these members of this corporation, on this page alone, it says, they are members of this group, and they owe their company $27,557.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Garzo? All right, Mr. Garzo, you are free.
It's actually Garceau. It's
Garceau, I keep
French-Canadian.
pronouncing it wrong.
I wouldn't expect you to get it. It's a French-Canadian name. I'm from New England, but thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right, we, at this point, are at about 7 minutes left and about 9 minutes left. Are we resting at this point?
Staff rests, yes.
Okay. Mr. Walker, are you done before closing with witnesses?
No, I'm done with witnesses, yes.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Ms. Lander or Mr. Walker at this time? Okay. I think we can proceed with our closing statements. Commission staff, you can go ahead and start.
All right, thank you, Judge Denmark, Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you again for your time today. After the last 3.5 hours, 2.5 hours, I think we can all see that Windermere cannot manage its own affairs. It has thumbed its nose at this commission and at its own members. It has repeatedly and habitually ignored the commission, and its board has made its disdain for the commission clear. It has ignored its customers, disregarding their experience and their desire to see the WSC succeed. It can't adhere to its own tariff. It can't adhere to its own bylaws. It could not present a coherent rate design. It's under investigation by the IRS. It hasn't made plans to update its infrastructure. There are leaks. There are boil water notices. Their equipment is obsolete. The potential health hazards are very real. Almost every time I open a Windermere document or spreadsheet, I see another error, another inconsistency. One of the commission's ALJs grew so tired of Windermere's non-compliance that he asked staff to file a recommendation on what to do. And here we are. I genuinely do not see any option besides a temporary manager. Forcing Windermere to pay administrative penalties only hurts the ratepayers. And while having a temporary manager isn't free, it at least comes with the benefit of helping Windermere get its affairs in order. But right now, it's time for Windermere to see the consequences of its actions and its inactions. This commission cannot allow any utility, big or small, to ignore its orders and ignore the law over and over and over. And it is possible that the board wants to apologize, wants to say it's sorry, wants to say that it will do better. But the time for apologies has passed. The time for exceptions has passed. Windermere has had ample time to address its shortcomings. In docket 56167, the ALJ gave Windermere multiple chances to get it right. Windermere did not even respond to those orders. And that's the essence of the problem. Windermere doesn't think enough of this commission to grace it with a response, even less fulfill the requirements that it chose to submit to. Ultimately, a slap on the wrist doesn't help Windermere's customers. Things are in such a state of disarray that Windermere desperately needs professional help. Giving them more time to satisfy the requirements that it has ignored for months won't put its infrastructure right. Giving it more time won't magically make Windermere capable of simply filing consistent information with the commission. The members of Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation need our help, and after today, I hope the commission can see that help is warranted. And where we can help ratepayers and are justified in helping them, we should. And for that reason, staff respectfully requests that the commission issue an order appointing a temporary manager for Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation. Thank you.
Mr. Walker?
Thank you very much, everybody in this room, Commission, Ms. Denmark, and so on. I don't disagree. I said it from the beginning. We definitely have issues. There's no doubt about it. And I can't tell you enough what it comes down to. It comes down to money. And I will go back to the report, the director's report here of the 246 members. Those are receipts that we received at the time of the report. We received $22,164 for 246 members. Yes, that was receipts that we received. So I want to make that clarification. You had probably 40 members in there. You don't get much above $30,000 a month that we're generating in receipts. So I wanted to clarify that as far as the director's report. Those reports are very detailed. They're very old. They do need to be updated. And it does take some navigation and understanding of them. It took me a while to get with that. We are not habitual, as Ms. Lander said about our filings and such. We're doing the best we can with 3 individuals on the board, limited money, and a lot of things thrown at us. It was just presented about an IRS audit. Did we anticipate that in 2024? Heck no. That was issued by a member within the community. Who does that to their own corporation? That's an audit of 2022 of the way we did our taxes. Boy, if that was me, what I would have done is come to the board and say, hey, you're about ready to file your 2023 taxes. Make sure you look at these areas. Make sure, because what we found, in our analysis was, hey, there might have been some things missing. But instead, somebody filed an audit against us within the IRS, and you got to respond. Unless the PUC has the capability of going up in front of the IRS and saying, well, we're going to put these guys off because they got to spend some money on a compliance filing, that's a tough call to make. You heard from Hal in regards to our operations. You betcha, we got an old system. There's no doubt about it. We don't even have a clarifier. That's a big deal. That's a $300,000+ investment that we need to make. You can't make that with the rates the way they are. You heard from Brian. We got a $500,000 legal bill that's still outstanding. You add that to what they're asking us for an infrastructure standpoint. How do you pay for that? The only way you pay for it is with a rate is through rates and through revenue. We just don't have it. We can't sustain. You can look at those bills, and it would be great if there was a comparison to what we used to pay to what is being paid now, and you'll see it's significant. I showed you my example. It is the most extreme, but I think it's 19% of the membership out there that have a bill like mine. That's a lot of members. That's a lot of members who are generating a $7 bill to go against operations. So, like I said, we don't disagree from a board standpoint and from the memberships that are sitting back here of assigning a temporary manager. Not at all. Come help us out. But he better be ready for a lot of stuff that's going to hit him right off the bat. And the first thing is going to be revenue, as Brian pointed out, of how we're not functioning bad. We just don't have enough operating capital to maintain. We're losing $11,500 a month. That's significant in a water utility. We didn't have that problem before the rate appeal went into play. Anybody ask that question up here? We didn't have that problem. We had it after the rate appeal and once those new rates got into play. We still had legal bills, just like we do now. And they were much more significant, but we were able to pay them. But as soon as the rate order came in, wow. Same operator was doing our work. They were involved since August of 2023. So we knew what that cost was. But sure enough, we get ourselves into financial problems, and you look at the P&L, it all started once the new rates went into play. That's what it's about. Thank you very much, and I'm concluding, because I want to go home. And I know you do too.
Commissioners, do you have anything further?
No.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Walker, Ms. Lander, Judge Denmark, all the witnesses, all the residents who came and showed up today. Appreciate you taking the time to come out. So with the adjournment of that commission-held hearing, I will reconvene our regularly scheduled open meeting and call up item number 13. That's docket 57065, petition for an order appointing a temporary manager to Windermere Oaks Water Supply Corporation. So we heard a lot of evidence, a lot of testimony. You know, obviously, Mr. Walker said that he doesn't object to a temporary manager. I think we have a lot to consider. If we're going to appoint a temporary manager, I want to make sure the order is right. And so I think what I'd say at this point, what I'd recommend is let's let OPDM come up with bullet points and give us briefing ahead of the November 14th open meeting, and then move forward at the November 14th open meeting, if that works for everybody.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay. Sheila, is there anything else?
No, sir.
All right. With there being no further business before us, this meeting of the Public Utility Commission of Texas is hereby adjourned.